Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and patch 9.2 got announced the other day. We covered everything that we thought we knew, but since then, a lot more information came out. A lot of it was done via interviews that kind of just came out of nowhere and cataloged on Wowhead. Some of the different answers for the questions we all have, like how will tier sets work? How will you be able to earn them? What about double legendaries? Has that been confirmed? And yes, it has. What are some of the different game modes, and will there be more renown to grind in patch 9.2? And we actually have answers for a lot of these questions, so I kind of wanted to dive into a lot of this in today's video and talk about all the extra information we got. Also, I keep bringing it up and you guys keep subscribing, so let's keep it rolling. If you guys are watching these videos and most of you watching are not subscribed, hit subscribe as well as hit the bell, especially if you want to see more patch 9.2 stuff and other updates going forward. Starting off, we will no longer need to grind renown in this patch. We're maxed with renown, we have our covenants unlocked, you can swap covenants, change conduits anytime you want to. The covenant and renown progression system is going to be replaced by the cipher of the first ones, which is going to be how we'll be able to learn the language of the automas, which are some of the creatures and beings that reside in Zereth Mortis, left over by the first ones to continue the work on creating different afterlives for different worlds. We don't really know if the cipher is going to be a system with different class progression and class buffs that we'll be able to use in PvE and PvP content, or if it's just a storytelling element, but renown at least we won't need to grind in the future, so we'll have to wait to see what the PTR brings us in regards. Tier sets returning is a massive change. I'm very excited for this. This comes with a lot of different expectations by players, but I think a lot of us wanted for tier sets to return. Now, I know Blizzard decided in Battle for Azeroth and into Shadowlands to go with the cloth set, leather set, plate set, and mail set. This made it a lot easier for them to create some of the best looking pieces of gear that just look fantastic. Instead of making 12 different sets, you have 4, and you can invest more time into making those 4 sets look absolutely gorgeous. They've done that for the most part. They all look amazing. All of them are thematic, but having your rogues, monks, demon hunters, and druids look the same eventually gets boring. So you have no idea how excited I am about tier sets looking different in terms of visual fidelity, adding elements into the sets that make a Death Knight the Death Knight to stand out from everybody else. A rogue is a rogue, a warlock stands out as a warlock. And while not every single set is going to look amazing, because when you have a different set for every single character, for every single class, in every tier going forward, there's always a fear that somebody might draw the short straw. This isn't uncommon, as in previous raids, there always was a class who didn't look as cool as everybody else, and this might return. With tier sets returning, someone might not look as cool in terms of their tier sets, or as good for one whole raid. And while that might be a potential problem of this, I still prefer the system. And this is someone who played a rogue looking like a human trash can for, I think, Mr. Pandaria Grievous set for PvP. Actually, it was like 2 seasons for PvP where we looked like a trash can. We looked like a red trash can and then a purple trash can covered in fur with one little eye hole for us to look through as everybody laughs at our trash can set. So honestly, I prefer this system with somebody looking like a trash can once in a while than what we had previously. I think the graphical fidelity of how classes look different is awesome to see. What's only cooler than the actual fidelity is the class changes that the tier sets come with, as they will actually augment the way our classes play. The 2-piece and 4-piece set bonus, so far it sounds like Blizzard is going to be augmenting how our class performs, not our covenant. That was a fear for many players, that they're most likely going to bring tier sets and they'll probably just end up buffing our covenant abilities. No, they'll actually buff our class abilities, which is the coolest thing ever. One thing I loved about tier sets from older expansions is how they allowed you to play certain builds that you normally wouldn't. Certain talents became better because they synergized with the playstyle, but normally you wouldn't pick those talents up. Like assassination rogues are mostly about this poison damage with bleeds on the side, but what if you could buff the bleed damage even further? It would allow you to take a bunch of bleed oriented talents, and now you have a different build that normally you wouldn't play in a raid, but because of a tier set, you get something different and new. And if we continue doing this tier set stuff in future expansions, future raids, that'd be awesome to see. How tier sets allow us to change our playstyle from raid tier to raid tier, and allowing us a lot of variety in terms of how we approach our classes. It also sounds like you'll be able to earn these tier sets from raiding, but also PvP and Mythic Pluses, with PvP and Mythic Plus giving you some sort of a currency where you'll be able to use Forge of Creation system in order to craft those PvP and dungeon pieces into tier pieces. And apparently it's going to come with a bad luck protection from the get-go in patch 9.2. Giving players a way to access those sets from dungeons or even PvP, some of the endgame content they enjoy if they don't like raiding, I think it's a fantastic idea just to get the looks, but also it sounds like they'll have their own sets, like the bonuses themselves. I'm still interested to see, and this will know in PTR pretty early on, if the raid set, the PvP set, and the Mythic Plus set will have different bonuses, or if let's say the gear will have a specific bonus, it just activates differently depending what endgame content you are in. Or if it's just going to be one set that works for all content all at once. We'll have to find out in the future, but I'm super excited for tier sets. I'm so glad that they're coming back. We'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on it in the comments. Since my earlier video talking about some of the 9.2 updates, we got even more information. One of them covers double legendaries and how they'll function. This one I think is going to be a bit more controversial depending on which side of the fence you're on. So the way that they're doing the double legendaries will have a bit of restriction to it. What's planned right now is to have us be able to craft and use a Covenant Legendary together with a non-Covenant Legendary. So it means a little bit less of diversity and creativity in kinds of different builds that we'll be able to play, but it might be more balanced than we think. Now, depending on how you guys think about it, and I would love to hear your comments, which side of the fence you're on. You can either look at it from, well, this stifles creativity. If I was able to use any legendary, but 2 of them, from any single part of my class combination, think of the builds I could run. And this would give players a massive player power fantasy of just being able to come up with the most busted ideas ever, very similar to kind of how you craft your build in Diablo or Path of Exiles, just something that's insane and maybe even plays itself to some extent. That'd be fun, but imagine the balancing nightmare that would introduce to the PvP realm, as well as the Mythic Pluses, and which classes are going to be the most busted within raids. I imagine pugging, if you're not the busted class, would be far harder. By limiting it to Covenant Legendary and one non-Covenant Legendary, you are a little bit stifling creativity, but you're also limiting the balance issues you could have, because you have less combinations of different Legos that could be out of control, and you have a better way of balancing it going forward. Hell, maybe with this change we'll also see some buffs to some of the Covenant Legendaries, because not all of them are good. Like Kyrian Mage Lego is really undervalued, very bad unless you're doing Mythic Pluses, and even then other choices are stronger for AoE. So that one together with another Lego might be good in Mythic Plus, but it probably will be pretty useless in pure single target fights or PvP. So I wonder what they'll end up doing with that in the future, and maybe we'll have legendaries that are undervalued get adjusted, and some that are overvalued overtuned like Venti or Boomkin for example. Maybe those will see some nerfs in the future. I also would like to hear you guys' thoughts on this change. But also, before we end it, you won't have to do more Torghast to earn your legendaries. This is a good thing. We don't really know exactly how you'll be able to get it, but it seems from Zereth Mortis, the new zone, you will be able to do stuff in Zereth Mortis to unlock some of your legendaries and be able to craft them from there. So no more Torghast going forward, which I think all of us can agree is probably a good thing. Reading more into the article, actually, there was another interview done about double legendaries. Apparently there will also be account-wide unlocks from the new zone, so once your main unlocks the ability to use double Legos, all your alts will be able to. So it looks like there will be a lot more account-wide stuff, which is fantastic if you want to play alts in the next patch. Finally, this one is going to be a lot of people excited for. Solo Shuffle PvP Brawl coming with Shadowlands, Eternities, and in patch 9.2. This means Blizzard is going to be testing through a Brawl possibility of playing solo queue arenas with other players, where normally you have to find other players in LFG to make a comp, make a group for 2v2s or 3v3s. Instead, a lot of players wanted to be able to queue them randomly, kind of like how you do a random battleground or a skirmish, but randomly queue for a rated arena. Solo queue systems are available in MOBA games and a lot of the Battle Royale games, just where you can just queue up with any random players as a team or by yourself or whatever, and just play, compete, see how well you do, just on your skill alone and class alone. Blizzard mentioned that while solo queue is a thing they want to try, there are challenges to it, like compositions is a pretty big part in WoW. Like if you have the right comp, you can just win games compared to somebody who, let's say, gets in an arena queue with double Sub-Rogue and a Guardian to it. They're probably going to get shredded if they're running into an Arms Warrior, Red Paladin, Holy Paladin combo. Just absolutely blasted, because who's going to be able to heal? And there's only so much a Guardian Bear can do inside of arenas for PvP. So Morgan Day had an interview with the gamer Braves, and they talked about how they actually have an idea for this mode in terms of having multiple different queues for this arena. Like when you're queuing, it queues you as a team, queues the other team, shuffles the team around a little, and queues them again, and whoever is the player that performs the best in that one is the one that gets the most points. So at least they're trying something different with the solo queue system, and I find it quite interesting. But I've said before that why don't they try something that has to do with solo queue in a Brawl? I've been saying it, I think, forever now. If players want to try a solo queue, why don't Blizzard implement a type of solo queue as a Brawl, allow players to queue for it, gather data in terms of how it works, adjust it over time, and eventually if they find a way to make this Brawl so good that it functions properly and actually can be played normally, make it a mainstay aspect of the game. There's some Brawls I've done for PvP that players have loved, like being able to go 6v6 in the battleground makes the games far more competitive than the 10v10 for some of the bigger maps that we have. Or you kind of use small, make the maps a little smaller, put the objectives a little closer, but then the games become really cutthroat. Players love that kind of stuff, and I think Brawl and actively engaging with the Brawls and coming up with different modes could potentially spawn different game modes for World of Warcraft PvP in the future. Not just arenas and battlegrounds and epic BGs and world PvP, you could have other game modes in general that are just as hardcore and just as competitive that get people super excited. So it's good that they're at least trying it out, and I'm very happy to see what this looks like, but I'm also excited to see if they'll do some more testing for it on PTR, and hopefully this Brawl will be active a lot more often once it comes out in 9.2, so they can gather as much data as they need from it to find out if the system works or not. And there's probably going to be more updates coming out in the future, but this is all we have for now. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I very hope you guys enjoyed it. This was super fun to take a look at and discuss. 9.2 just got announced the other day, but can't help it, but I'm a little excited. I'm excited to see the potential of this patch. We don't really know what's it like yet because, you know, hasn't really hit PTR yet. I think once it hits PTR, once we know what's going on, then we'll get a better idea if this is good or not, because this sounds like fun on paper. We'll see what it's going to be like once it comes out. But for now, I am personally excited, and I cannot wait to cover more of it. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments what are your thoughts. Join our Discord down in the comments description below. Link is always there, and you guys are always invited to join our community. Thank you all, and I'll see all of you in the next one.